Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut. And how's everybody doing tonight? I said I'd be back here tonight from live from New York City. I'll do another live stream. Let me just check something real quick because I set up a new microphone here. So just hold on 1 minute. All right, I am back. Just had to check to make sure the because I don't have my because I usually have my snowball microphone that I use. The only problem with that is I have to hold it. I have my webcam, my portable webcam, my portable webcams hooked up here, which I usually use for my different drawings if I have my other channel. But we're gonna do a big live stream tonight. Now, if you're a Mets fan or if you're a baseball fan, it's the kind of channel you want to sink your teeth into. Now, this channel sort of has taken a different turn over the last 24 hours because I've been inspired by a channel called Only Mets Fans. He's been doing these videos this week, and he's jumped with the subscriber count. And I noticed what he's been doing, and I just decided, well, why don't I just do some of the things that he's doing similarly? Because as you know, the Mets have been talked about a lot over the last few weeks because of the new owner, and people just love the new owner. He hasn't done he hasn't done anything yet. He hasn't done much yet in terms of any kind of moves, but he has a lot of money, and obviously people are just curious about what he's going to do. And there are all these rumors of all these different players. I'm going to go do everything this week. I'm going to go do everything, not just with the Mets, but everything going on in Major League Baseball tonight. But if you want to listen to a channel of a guy from New York who knows what he's talking about, I know what I'm talking about. Followed the game since I was a little kid, and I really care about it a lot and love it a lot. And there's some things I like about what's going on in baseball, some things I don't like about baseball right now. But there's a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be happy about when it comes to the Mets in particular, because we've had to endure a lot of nonsense, as you know. We had the Wilpons here for all these years, and they've been lousy owners. On Thanksgiving, SNY was playing these Mets yearbooks, and they started with, I guess, 1981. It started in the afternoon, I guess, and I was watching it periodically because I'm not into the football anymore. So I don't. Not that I watch the football games, on Thanksgiving Day. Every time that I watched them, the games always stunk. Very overrated the NFL on Thursdays, on Thanksgiving Thursday. But so they played this sort of like marathon of different years. And they started with 81. They went from 81 through 88, I think. They didn't do 86, which they have not done a yearbook of 86. They haven't done. I don't know why they haven't done it, but they haven't done it. And then they went to 2011, and they went from 2011 to 2018. But the interesting thing was at the end of 2018. If you watch that team, remember they'd hired Mickey Callaway. It was a disaster as the manager. But what was interesting is at the end of this uh, half-hour show, they had showed Jeff Wilpon introducing Brody Van Wagenen, and Jeff looked completely, totally bored. He didn't want to be there. And I guess that's kind of how we all felt about the Wilpons anyways, that we were just sort of tired of them and just tired of them owning the team. I think they were bored of it, and I think they kind of got lost them. Along the years they got frustrated, and Jeff was a lousy owner. I mean, Fred was a good owner, but Jeff was a lousy owner. Because Jeff was really running the team, and he was lousy. He stunk. But I thought that was kind of interesting, just to sort of see the contrast between the sort of happy face, the regular, the regular happy face that uh, Steve Cohen has, and then you have Jeff Wilpon, who was sort of, sort of a bit of a sourpuss. So it's been sort of an interesting kind of contrast to sort of see that yet on Thursday. So a lot happened this week. We're going to go do a lot of stuff here. There'll be videos again tomorrow. I have a couple interesting things. We'll talk about DJ LeMahieu. We'll talk about Dom Smith. We'll talk about, something a little different. One of the members of the Rojas / Alou family. As you know, Luis Rojas is the son of Felipe Alou and the brother of Moises Alou, was a former Met. And Felipe Alou and the Alou family are big. Their families was is big in the major leagues. They, all the brothers played, all the Alou brothers, and the son played, and now you have the brother of Moises, who's the manager of the Mets. All right, so the beginning part of the week, Sandy Alderson, the the president of the Mets, talked on Monday about how they couldn't find a head of baseball operations. I mentioned in some of the videos of the last couple of weeks that, and especially this week, that it's been very difficult for the Mets to hire people, not because of the whole idea of permission, but the fact that the new ownership came in November. They didn't come in September. So a lot of times these opportunities arise in late September and into October. So they couldn't really find anybody that was a GM already and get a raise and make him sort of the head of baseball operations. So Sandy said he was going to take over the responsibilities for now, to be the baseball, the baseball guy, and that they were going to hire a general manager. They've talked to 6 different people. They did not mention who it was, but some names have sort of come out. One is, who I don't know if he'll be the GM, since they're not looking for a head of baseball operations, is Michael Hill, who's the former head of operations, baseball operations in Miami for Derek Jeter. Now, I would again mention about this thing that happened with Kim Nang in Miami. I think she's getting grossly underpaid down there because Jeter didn't want to pay Michael Hill. Now, Michael Hill, I don't know what the status is of what's going on with him, but apparently, he's one of the names we've heard of. Another name that's popped up is Chris Young, who pitched for the Mets in the beginning of Sandy's first stint with the team in 2011 and 2012. He's pitched for the Padres for Sandy when he was in San Diego. He's on the Royals when they won the World Series and they beat the Mets. He has no experience. That's a problem. Because the owner said he didn't want to hire somebody that had no experience. So that is a major problem. So we will see where that goes. Hopefully some other names come forward. I don't know who could be somebody the Mets might be interested in. I haven't heard anybody else. But I know J.P. Ricciardi is somebody that is another name that's out there. I don't know if they'll consider him for the general manager's job, but he is a name out there. And he was in the Mets front office for a long time with Sandy, and left when Brody came in to be the president and the GM a few years ago. But now he's back. Supposedly JP might come back. The Met, I did a video on Francisco Lindor, and I uploaded it today, and I talked about how that trade, and this is a proposal of mine, that the Mets would offer 2 major league players, which is Andres Jimenez and Brandon Nimmo. Now, I would point out that the Met farm system has gotten a lot of flack over the last 10 years, 15 years. But it has produced a lot of good players and some really great players. This is the farm system that developed Jacob deGrom, who right now is on pace to be a Hall of Fame pitcher and probably the second greatest pitcher in Met history. This is a farm system that, whatever you may think of it and what you may think of him, developed Matt Harvey. They helped develop Noah Syndergaard. They developed a young Jeurys Familia. And that goes back to Omar. And say what you will about the Wilpons, they did bring in talent here from the farm system that helped them win the pennant 5 years ago. Like Lucas Duda and Daniel Murphy and Juan Lagares, Michael Conforto. So you have a talented group of guys that have come up, but over the last year or two, a lot of the minor league pitching has been traded away. Brody traded away a big prospect and Jared Kelenic, which at the time everyone knew was a mistake, that they would trade him, including Justin Dunn, by the way, who's a prospect who's pitched in the majors and pitched well in this shortened season. That they made all those moves. They've depleted the farm system in terms of the pitching side of it. Okay, in terms of the everyday players, it's a different story. We have Pete Alonso. We have Dom Smith, who I would point out, people are saying, if you're going to trade for Francisco Lindor, you give up those two. Are you crazy? The people writing to me today were just insane about that. Just on its face, the Mets did not make any money off of the promotion of the 2019 Rookie of the Year. You just imagine that. You have a celebrated player and Pete Alonso, and they didn't make a dime off of it because of the lockdown and because of the COVID. And they didn't make any money off of him. So why would they want to trade him all of a sudden when he has shown himself to be sort of the leader of this team in a short amount of time? And people are saying, well, he's going to get traded. No. He's got 4 years, 4 seasons of control in terms of his contract. Dom Smith has, 3 years left on his contract to where they're going to have to pay him? So why would you give them up when you know that their upside is so high for Francisco Lindor, when you know Lindor is going to be gone? You know Lindor is going to be gone. And here's the thing. The Indians have told everybody they're trading Lindor away. So Lindor is getting traded. They've already, just due to that fact, Lindor loses value. We'll get back into that. I don't want to get bogged down with Lindor right now, but so please subscribe to this channel and please write to me in the comment section. Just write to me in the chat. So Sandy had said, because he was asked different questions about the team, and they asked him, does he feel that the team is a player away? And I'll quote you what he says here. I don't think we're a player away. We need more than that. And I think I agree with it. They need a center fielder. They need a catcher. That's obvious. That's another bone of contention. People write to me. That's pretty mild. And they need more starting pitching, and they need to bulk up the bullpen. These are all things that were talked about during his press conference, announcing that he was going to take over the team and be the guy. And of course, they need bullpen help badly. I don't trust Edwin Diaz. Also, it was another big story was that Luis Rojas will return as the manager in 2021. That's a big deal for the Mets because I was sort of half and half. I don't think he's as good as I think a lot of people think he is. I'm not a big fan of his. I mean, not to be mean or anything like that, but the way I feel, I think the Mets could do a little bit better in terms of as a manager. Quite frankly, let's check and see because I forget. And with the whole thing with the virus, it just messed up everything. I want to go and check out Mets.com because they show you everybody that is on the roster. This will give us a pretty good sense of who are the coaches on the Mets because I don't know. So give me a moment. So please, in the meantime, please subscribe to this channel, and we're gonna do more stuff on the Mets. I can tell you that. I mean, to see the kind of response that I've gotten from the channel over the last day, I'm going to give you exactly what you want. And I'm more than proud of it and more than happy to do it. I don't know if we'll be doing a lot of WFN stuff, but maybe if I live we'll do stuff like that. So here we go. I'm going to show you what's going on here. Let's see what's going on. Let me take down my thing. All right, let me go to the page so I can read it. So the manager is obviously Luis Rojas. Here we go. Hensley Mullins is the bench coach for the Mets. Forgot about that. They were kind of talking to him about him being the manager, but they made him the bench coach. He's got experience. He was with the Giants all those years. Chili Davis, who did not participate in terms of being there because I guess he was high risk. He's older. He's a very good hitting coach. They did a great job in 2019. Then we have Ryan Ellis. I guess he filled in, and Tom Slater was the other assistant coach. Now here's the bugaboo. I had some a lot of guys on here, and there needs to be that many. But Jeremy Hefner, who is the former Met, and I don't know. I mean, they did not pitch well. I mean, Louis probably could use an experienced pitching coach at this point in his career, I think. I mean, Phil Regan. I saw a story about Phil Regan. He's still coaching. He was coaching down in somewhere in South America. Yeah, he's 84 years old. He's still coaching, and they called the season off down there, but he had to get out of there because they had an outbreak there. I got to find that story. Maybe I'll talk about it later, but there's so much to talk about. But Jeremy Hefner, former Met, I am not sold on him. I like to see. Now, I would point out that Sandy said that the coaching staff was to be decided. Maybe he'll want to bring in some of his own people. The pitching coach is probably the most important coach that any team can have. So that we'll have to keep an eye on. And then we have Jeremy Accardo. Well, I don't know much about. I think he pitched in the minor leagues. But really, the most important guy here is Jeremy Hefner. So that is really somebody we need to keep an eye on going forward. But that's pretty much it. I mean, that's really all that's there, at this point. But you have to understand, the Mets are in a situation where they could do anything, So they're in a great spot now in terms of where they take this team. So I am very optimistic, as you may know, very optimistic about the whole situation. What else came out during this? Okay. Robinson Cano, don't you know, was suspended a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago for having a positive test on a PED test. And he's going to miss the whole entire season. Not only going to miss the whole entire season, but he's not going to get a salary. So one of the things that was talked about is where the money's going to go. Now they're not going to use it. We'll leave that for another day. But there's no plan, according to Sandy, to release Cano at this time. He's got 2 more years on his contract, close to $50 million. And there's no, and the HUT means no plans yet to release him. We'll see. The Mets have released people before, but I don't know if they're going to do that with 2 years left. And the owner's going to take a massive loss the first 2 years that he said he's going to have the team. According to reports, they said they're going to lose about what is it? About $500 million the first 2 years. So he's going to lose a lot of money. I mean, no question about that. He's going to lose a lot of money, But But he said he just wants to do it for the fans, and he just wants to see the team win, and that's pretty much it. And that's great to know. So in the meantime, please like this video if I haven't mentioned it, and please subscribe to this channel. Notice I've gotten a lot of subscribers into the live stream. Well, if you're watching this channel for the first time, I am the Hut, and this is the Baseball Hut. I have another channel called the Comic Hut, which I sort of put on a little hiatus. And I've been doing that for about 2 years. And I've been meaning to do this channel for a very long time. Almost 2 years, quite frankly. And I've been really put it off for a long time. I could not have found a more perfect time to start this, because you have a situation where everyone's talking about the Mets and Googling them and connecting them to all these big names. This is about as perfect as it gets, quite frankly. Another story that came out, I talked about it last week, and that was Tim Tebow was talking about how he wants to keep going with his baseball career. Sandy was asked that, the beat reporter for the Syracuse Mets asked him, because he hasn't played. See, the Mets made a deal with the governor, Governor Peepin' Tom, Andrew Cuomo. Peeper. And he's like a peeper. Peeper, you can't be in that house. Don't be eating dinner there. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, it's about Tim Tebow. So Tim Tebow wants to still play. And Syracuse beat reporter asked Sandy, what's going on with Tim, and what's your thoughts on it? And he said, I hope he continues his career. The Mets really, really like him a lot. They love the guy. They said that he has value besides his exploits on the field. That he has value to the clubhouse. He has value to the organization. And they really, really like him a lot. Now we have a chat. A comment from Mr. Mysterio. Mets have been taking loss after loss for players. Jed Lowry, Cespedes, and now Cano. Hope it's the end of it. Now that Cohen is the new owner, no more bust players. Now I would point out about Cespedes. He was great for those first 2 years. And then after that, his body fell apart. Who knows what he was doing when he was playing in Cuba? And who the hell knows? I mean, what was he fighting, a boar? He found I don't know. He was riding a horse. They said he was fighting a boar on his farm. But I think he fell off a horse. I think that's what everybody kept talking about. He broke both his ankles. Then he comes back and he's pissed off that the Mets were DHing him and weren't playing him every day. So he quit. On them. And it said it had something to do with the virus. It didn't have to do with the virus. I don't know where he's going to go, because he quit on the Mets in a bad way. He left in a bad way. Thank you, Mr. Mysterio, for a great comment. Please send the comments into the chat. I'll read them. So we'll go back to the Mets for a moment. But a lot of stuff happened. Some players signed a trade this week. Like I said, this channel had been talking a lot generally about baseball. But after seeing the kind of results of the last couple of days, got to ride this wave. And as you know, next week, we'll be going into the winter meetings, and I'm hoping to ride this wave all the way through the winter meetings, folks. So this channel is growing really fast. Okay, so please subscribe if you haven't already. Please like this video. Please tell your friends about this channel. If you have friends that are baseball fans, and we're just getting this sucker rolling. Like I said, the channel's changing a little bit and making an adjustment. I'm gonna try to do still more 3 videos during the day. But when we get into sort of the winter meetings, there might be some more. We'll see. This is just the average from Sunday through Friday, 3 videos every day. And then on Saturday, we'll have 2 videos during the day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and then I'll do the live stream, which I'm doing now. What's great about this live stream is this will be probably the longest live stream I'm going to do, and this is very excited because I'm excited about what's going on with the Mets and what's going on with this channel and all of you coming on here. So I'm very excited. Hope it sounds like it, because I am. Don't let the doofy accent fool you. But yeah, so when we get to the winter meetings next weekend, I do a live stream like I'm doing. I'm going to go through all the teams as much as I can, and we'll do the teams on the live stream, I guess. And most of the content will be Met related, I think, going forward. But we'll see. I have to sort of figure out what works, what doesn't work. The one thing I like about this particular subject is that not too many people leave. It may not grow if I don't talk about the Mets, but nobody leaves. So and I may not get that many views. But the one thing I notice about this particular subject in terms of sports, in terms of baseball, and Mets baseball in particular, is that if you're a Mets fan, you'll love this channel. I like to think if you're a baseball fan, you'll love the channel too. So I can't talk about the other teams. I'm trying to get a guest on. I haven't asked my friend if this guest will come on. I asked him a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. Hopefully I can get him on. He's a player. We'll leave it at that. He's not a current player, but you'll all know. Trust me. He's a pretty big player. So I'm hopefully I can get him on. I don't know when I'm getting him on, but hopefully I can get him on. When you have a little channel like this, it's kind of tough to get guests on, especially if they're like, a big baseball player. But I'll keep you posted on that. So let's go through some of the stuff that happened this week with just Major League Baseball in general. As you know, the Braves made a couple moves this week, which will have an effect on what the Mets do going forward. For example, they signed both Charlie Morton, who the Mets were interested in, but I don't think Charlie really wanted to play in New York. I think this was like the second time they tried to get him and didn't want to really play here in New York. I don't think it was a personal thing. I think it was more they wanted to be closer to Florida, so he went and play with the Braves. And they signed Drew Smiley. So their rotations, they're going to be tough. If there's one team that's going to be a problem for the Mets, it'll be the Braves going forward, as always, like it was in the past. But you won't see a situation where the Mets are undermanned. It won't be a situation where they're in that situation. Hold on, I need a drink. Go. And they got 1-year deals with the Braves. I don't know how much longer Charlie's going to be pitching for. He's 37 years old. And we'll see how where that leads. Mets are going to have tough. They're going to have tough with them. I could see them, if the Mets make the right moves this offseason. Because last year they weren't bad. They won 86 games last year. So this year, with the right moves and hopefully improvement from the manager and improvement with the bullpen, the Mets could win 90 games. But they have to make these moves. They have to get a catcher. Very, very important. That's got to be the number one thing they need to do. And we've been talking about different catchers. And we'll talk about these catchers going forward in this show. Then there's some rumors that are going on. I got a lot of pitching stuff this week. A lot of pitching moves. A lot of pitching. A lot of players that are just pitchers. Two big names, relatively big names that I talked about this week. Was the lefty for the Rays, the stomping off the field, Blake Snell, who, if you hear that the Rays are going to trade you, man, you stay as far away from the Rays as you can. Because if the Rays are trading one of their pitchers, stay the hell away from them. We've seen it how many times they trade some player or some pitcher, and they're garbage after that. Because the one thing we know about the Rays, they're well run, and they know what they're doing. They're, in terms of just the front office, they're the class of baseball, quite frankly. They know how to run their team, do a very small budget. And if they're thinking about trading Blake Snell, you better be very careful. Better be very, very careful. And another guy you got to be careful of is Sonny Gray. As long as he doesn't get traded here, the Reds are talking about, or there was rumors about Sonny Gray getting moved. Now, there's going to be a lot of players moved because this, baseball lost massive amounts of revenue from the fans not being in the ballparks. So Sonny Gray is going to be another player to keep an eye on. And they're a good team, the Reds. I didn't think they would take the Reds that long to be bad. They actually been pretty good over the last few years. This past year, they were good. I kind of figured they were going to improve. They have a lot of young talent. But then they might not be quite ready yet. Then you're hearing that the Giants are interested in John Lester, the lefty that's played for the Cubs and he's pitched for the Red Sox. He's sort of a borderline Hall of Famer. We'll see how much more he has left in his arm. The Cubs certainly got a lot out of him. He lived up to that contract. Not too many pitchers live up to a contract, and he certainly did a good job in Chicago after pitching with the Red Sox all those years. So he might be another case of like another Kurt Schilling. Had a good career, but really, and it's very similar to John Smoltz. So guys who had good careers, they didn't pitch in postseason, but the postseason kind of gets them over the edge. Those three are very similar. Well, difference, about Smoltz, he's a closer too. Then we have DJ LeMahieu. I might do a video on him tomorrow. The Yankees have more competition for him over this past week. Some new names that have been popping up. The Nationals, the Dodgers, the Houston Astros, the Mets, and the Blue Jays. Now, the Mets sort of popped up after Cano had gotten suspended. I would think that the Nationals will probably play him at second, I would think. The Dodgers, I think, will probably move him to third. I mean, they'll probably put him. So the thing about LeMahieu is he's a great defensive player. He played great defensively. And the Blue Jays, who I've heard too. We'll get to the Blue Jays in a minute. Blue Jays are all over these teams, all over these big players. Then we have JT Realmuto, the catcher, that's played for the Phillies and the Marlins. Now, I'll say this about him again, which I said in my videos, is that he's never been on a team that's won. He was never the best player on his team. When he was with the Marlins, he was not the best player on his team, the fact of the matter is the guys that are the best players on his team was Jose Fernandez, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, D. Gordon. They're all better than him, as players. He's always the fourth or fifth best player on his team, And he's never been on a winning team. And he's been with the Phillies for the last 2 years. They haven't been good. He's been good. But that, to me, has value, too, Just to sort of use Mets examples, and I said this in my video, talking about Yadier Molina. Gary Carter had won with the Expos in 81, so he knew how to win. He was a winning player. Mike Piazza had played for the Dodgers. They've always had a winning culture. He had experience in postseason. He had experience in pennant races. He was a money player, as you know. Paul Lo Duca came from the Dodgers, so he knew how to win. There's value to a guy, to a catcher in particular, or any player, specifically a catcher that knows how to win. It's been on winning teams. So there's no value to a player who's not won. Russell Martin is another guy who was a catcher in the Dodger system. And look at the kind of player he was. That's why it's very important to find catchers that have won. It's extremely important, especially if you're bringing them in here and they're an older player. Now, Realmuto is a talented player. There's no doubt of that. No doubt of that. I don't doubt that for 1 second. He has value as a defensive player, value as a hitter, but he was never the best player on his team. If he came here, he wouldn't be the best player in the Mets. Michael Ford is the best player in the Mets. But we'll see. But the teams that we're talking about here are the Mets, the Phillies. Who, from what I understand, the Phillies are backing off. the Nationals and the Blue Jays again. I've been saying that he'll probably go to the Nationals. I did a video the other day talking about that. He doesn't want to play in New York, from what I understand. Now I know people are talking about James McCann. I've seen his numbers; they're not great. And he's another guy that's not won. Catching position in terms of being as a winner is very, very important to me. All right. Now we have the Blue Jays. So I mentioned a few times here, big players. They're talking to some big players. Justin Turner, I'm hearing. I guess they want him to play third. Michael Brantley, who I guess they would want to play him in center field. I would think that probably Jackie Bradley Jr. would be somebody they'd be interested in. And, of course, George Springer, who I did a video earlier today, which upset a lot of people. They keep complaining that, because I put in the thumbnail and the title of the video that the Mets were going to sign up to a 7-year deal. If you listen to the video, I said it's a 5-year deal with 2 years of an option, 2 option years. Because and people say, well, he's going to be an old man, you DH him. The DH is going to come to the National League permanently, either this year coming up or the following year. So the DH is not going to be an issue going forward. People are tired of watching the pitchers hit now. And I think that eventually what will happen with George is he'll become, first of all, George is still 31 years old. Okay, he can still play the center field. So if you sign him to a 5-year deal with 2 years, you figure the first 3 years you could probably live with him in center field. He's better than Brandon Nimmo. He's a money player. He's a big time player. He knows how to win. Well, he's a guy you got to look to. And again, there is money out there. The Mets had the money, so they will outbid players. They will outbid teams to get some of these players. I can tell you that. Now there was a trade this week. Let me read you some of the names on this because I had to write this down. The Rockies and the Reds made a trade. The Rockies got Robert Stevenson, who's a right-handed pitcher, and he's a major leaguer. And they also got minor league outfielder Jameson Hanna. And in return, the Reds got Jeff Hoffman, who's a right-handed pitcher, who is another guy who was in the majors. And they also got Case Williams, who's a minor leaguer, who's also a right-handed pitcher. So that's really the first trade of note that happened this past week. There's gonna be more talks. I mean, this is a weird week because we had Thanksgiving on Thursday, so but things are gonna start to pick up. I would think on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, things are gonna start really picking up, and hopefully we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. Then I'm sure there'll be some names. I was thinking I should do a video about Mike Trout because a guy like that, I know he's not gonna get traded, but a team like the Mets now would want to make a big splash. All right, now I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit with you. And that is, I'd done a video during the end of the week, about the Mets reliever, John Franco. And he's been complaining, he complained on WFAN, I guess, that he thinks he's a Hall of Famer. Now, I did a video basically comparing him to guys like Lee Smith and saying that his wins above replacement was higher than some of the guys in the Hall of Fame, which are close to or comparable to. This was comparable to Trevor Hoffman, which is interesting because Trevor Hoffman also has over 200 more saves than Johnny does or had. I mentioned some things about Johnny. He's third all-time in games pitched. He is first in saves for a lefty. He's the first lefty to get to as the second pitcher all-time to get to 400 saves. He is there is value to him. And his value is really from 86 to 98. He averaged about 29 saves per year. And it was 2 years where he was injured, so that sort of takes it down a little bit. And they're very comparable to, like I said, Lee Smith. He has more saves than Bruce Sutter. He has more saves than Raleigh Fingers. Now, the one thing that Raleigh has that Johnny doesn't have, he has a Scion. That's a big deal. And he's just an interesting comparison. Now, I went through this, and I came across a player just going through the different, and I will point out that Johnny never won a Cy Young. He got a couple MVP votes, and that's what made me lead into this player, who played for the Red Sox back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and that is, let me show you. And that is the right fielder who played for the, let me pick this up, share on the screen. All right. And that is Dwight Evans. Now, Dwight Evans played for almost 20 years. He played 20 years. Yeah. From 72 to 91. And the bulk of his career was primarily with the Red Sox. Well, most of it was with the Red Sox, and 1 year with Baltimore. And I'm going through this, and the thing that struck me was his wins above replacement. And as you can see, it's 67.1. And I was like, that's pretty high for a guy that's not in the Hall of Fame. That's pretty high. He's got 8 Gold Gloves, which is the way a lot of this is coming from. 8 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Slug Awards, 3 All-Star appearances. Now you go through some of the awards. He's only appeared 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times on the 5 times on the MVP voting. Go through his years to see his best season. His best season was probably 82. 402 slugging percent, 402 on base percentage, 936 OPS. He's got more walks and strikeouts. Or a little more. I'm sorry. Less. I'm sorry. Let me check that in. I misspoke. But he has 1,300, almost 1,400 runs batted in. Almost 385 home runs. Now I show you this, so I can show you something else. Let me see if I can find it. Let me stop the screen. And let me show you something else. I'll show you the other guy who I thought was very comparable. He's a great player, and that's Jim Rice. Jim Rice has a WAR of 47.7, so it's 20 points lower than than Dwight Evans, which I just wanted to point it out. It's I know it's not what you expect on this channel, but I sort of came across and I was very surprised by it. He has 100 less runs batted in about. He's got 3 less home runs. But the difference is, obviously, and he played a few years. He played 14, 15 years with the Red Sox. Now, he has major awards to his accomplishments. He's an MVP, 8-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slug Award. The only difference about Jim Rice is let's go through some of these numbers. They are incredible numbers. 1, 2, 3. 7 times he scored 90 runs or more. 3 years in a row, had 200 hits. 4 times in his career, he had 200 hits. He led the league in home runs 3 times. Hit 46 home runs in 78, which 40 was a lot back in that era. There was only one hitter that had 50 home runs or more in the 70s. That was George Foster. 600 slugging percentage in 78, won the MVP. Came in second in the Rookie of the Year award in 75. He came in second to Fred Lynn. That's a great team. You don't realize how great a team the Red Sox had that year. But they went up against an all-time team, with the Reds. But they had Yastrzemski, Fred Lynn, Dwight Evans, Jim Rice, Carlton Fisk. I mean, some of the really great all-time Red Sox and really some of the real great all-time players of the last 40, 50 years in Major League Baseball. And you have these numbers. Look at all these years that he led the league in. Let's look at his RBI total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times of 100 more and 9 times over 97 RBIs or more. So this guy, Major League slugger. And why he waited so long to get into the Cooperstown is beyond me. And he had more RBIs than Dwight Evans. But this was sort of an interesting comparison. I think if Jim Rice had been a better defensive player, his wins above replacement would be much, much higher than it was and turned out to be. But it's sort of a, it was just an interesting thing to talk about here. I do like talking about this stuff. As you know, if you like that stuff, you want to follow, you want to subscribe to this channel. But it's funny how some players, with the eye, if you saw Jim Rice play, you would see a Hall of Famer. If you saw Dwight Evans, you saw a really good player, but he wasn't a Hall of Fame player, So that's the only really interesting thing I thought about the whole comparison of the two of them was the fact that Jim Rice you saw him, you knew he was a Hall of Famer once you saw him play, and Dwight Evans was a very good player, borderline guy. I mean, I would like to know if I get a chance. I know, if I get a chance, I should check out his votes because he's been on the ballot, been retired a long time now, 30 years now. But interesting comparison, especially for two guys that were teammates. All right, now I bogged you down with that. So another player. Oh, I need a drink. Hold on. Look. So another player that was discussed over the week was Carlos Correa. The Astros don't think that he's going to resign with Houston. They think he's going to leave, which is probably right. I mean, I don't see him staying, but that's according to them. And he's still young. I guess he's, let me see what I got here. 26. He'll be 26 when next season starts. Now, I did say if the Mets were talking to him, I would not think about doing that. I wouldn't do that. Because he's the one shortstop that's had some injuries. The other guys haven't had injuries. He has had injuries, big injuries, to where he's missed big parts of seasons and stuff. So I don't know if he's somebody I want to pick up, quite frankly, if I were them. So that's something that you're going to have to consider. There's so many shortstops that are going to be available in the off season, and I went through them. I'm going to go through them again. Now this off season, you got two free agents. From Steve Perez. I'd stay away from Correa if I'm the Mets. He's been injured quite a bit the past few years. He has been. And the thing about him is he's a toxic guy. All right? He has he's got no shame. Your team wins the World Series. Go to the White House. What's the big deal? And plus, when they won the World Series, he had to make it about him. And he gets engaged with his girlfriend. This is about your team. Why are you taking away from what your team's doing? He's a little uncomfortable for me. I'd stay away from him. But there's some players that are going to be free agents. They're free agents now. Marcus Simeon, who I saw him, they did a little comparison to him on MLB Network this week. And he's only had one really great year, and that was 2019. And I think he'll get a 1-year deal. Whoever doesn't get really? Steve Perez again. Also, he seems to have questionable character with the Astros scandal. They all do. How does an Astro player not get suspended? How does that happen? That tells you the lousy leadership the Major League Baseball has with Rob Manfred. But Marcus Simeon will probably get a 1-year deal with some team. He's not going to get a big deal. If he'd gone into free agency like he did last year, he would have got a big deal. He's not going to get it. He'll get a 1-year deal, probably with the Phillies, I would think. Whoever doesn't get Francisco Lindor is probably going to get him on a one. You sign to a 1-year deal, and you just wait for these other shortstops to be free agents. And there's a lot of them. Andrelton Simmons, who I think the Yankees have talked about him. I've heard him, but we'll see. I think he'll probably get a minor league deal. Oh, really? Again from Steve Perez. He kept coming out with different stories, acting all cocky. Usually the more cocky ones are guilty. Okay, now we have a list of free agents that are going to be free agents. Shortstops that are going to be free agents coming out next year, which include Francisco Lindor. Now we'll get into this proposed trade that I proposed today, which the videos, I'm watching it, I can tell from the video it's going crazy. I got over 1,000 views on it. I got over 1,000 views on it. So it's been sort of talked about, I guess. And so you're not going to give up a lot for him, in my view. We'll get into that trade in a little bit. Then we have the Colorado Rockies, Trevor Story. He's 28. Very talented. Another guy to keep an eye on. Francisco Lindor is going to be 27, just to go back to him. The two big teams that I hear and he'll probably go to is either the Mets or the Phillies. We'll see. From Steve Perez, I think Simmons will get a major league guarantee due to his elite defense. Well, he wasn't so good this past season, but we'll keep an eye on it. Again, these two guys, Simeon and Simmons, these are guys you give 1-year deals to. They placeholders until these other shortstops are free agents. And Carlos Correa is 26, like I said. Javi Baez of the Chicago Cubs. He's another guy to keep an eye on. He's another guy who's got elite defense. He's played in big games. He's an interesting guy. Now, the guy who's probably the best of the 5 of these guys, who's the most talented, I think, from what I can tell, is Corey Seager. He's 27 years old. He plays for the Dodgers. From Mr. Mysterio, Correa also had conflicts with other major league players like Cody Bellinger and Braves outfielder forgot his name over scandal of cheating. I don't know. Was it Acuna? Was it one of them? But of the 5 of them, the guy I'd want is Corey Seager because he is a money player. Yeah, I mean, if you're a good team, you're going to want him. I mean, you're going to want him big time. So he's a guy that'll be very interesting going forward. I mean, quite frankly, 27 years old, World Series MVP, got a lot of home runs in the World Series. He's a very impressive player. Very, very impressive. All right, now let's go through some odd and ends. Got a lot of stuff to go through still. We have the former Dodger, Yacio Puig, who's now COVID-free. I hope we get the vaccine soon. I hope that vaccine gets distributed fast because I'm tired of wearing a mask. I don't know about you guys. I'm tired of wearing a mask. But Yacio Puig, he's now COVID-free, and teams are talking to him, and he's talking to the teams. I would point out that a lot of the sort of movement within Major League Baseball is going to be very slow. It's going to be slower than it was last year. Probably because of the virus still being out there, and teams probably not sure what they're going to do in terms of spending money and whether the fans will be able to go to the ballparks and stuff. So this is going to be a very slow moving market. Probably slower than it was last year. And a lot of players are going to get signed probably late January, early February. But Puig has 3 teams, just to talk about him. The Astros, the Orioles, and the Red Sox. He's a good 6 hitter or 7 hitter on your team. He's a goofy guy. He's exciting. He'll get you big hits once in a while. It's interesting on the American League teams. He's still going to play the outfield. He's still a great right fielder. Great arm. He has some more pitching. This is a big pitching week. Liam Hendricks, who's from the Oakland A's. I think I mentioned that there are 4 teams to stay away from. or two teams in particular stay away from if they're letting their players go is the A's and the Rays. Because they do run their teams rather well. And when they don't do well, it's usually when they leave their teams. So, before we get into that, please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you're coming through for the first time. If you're coming through for the first time, you want to hear me, a real New Yorker, talk about the Mets and talk about Major League Baseball. This is the channel for you. Now, for Mr. Mysterio, he solved the mystery of the mysterious Brave player. Markakis is the Braves outfielder who had some words for the Astros team. From Steve Perez. If the Mets could get Hendricks, that would be huge. Like I said, you stay away from these. I haven't heard them with him, but they said they're talking to everybody. I would stay away from him just for the fact that he pitched for the A's. I would like to see him go pitch somewhere else before he comes here. Like Jerry Blevins was a guy that pitched for the A's. He went to pitch for the Nationals. The Mets made a trade with him for him a few years ago, and he pitched well for the Mets for a few years. But the teams with the Hendricks, a lot of teams, the Phillies, who need a lot of bullpen help, the Angels, who have a great player but never seem to get out of their way and never do well. The Giants, who are they're still rebuilding. The Giants is going to be a long ways away. They get a mulligan because they won those 3 championships. It's 3, right? It's 3. Or 2. No, it's how many championships they win? 3? It's 3. It's 2. I'm okay. I'm trying to remember, I can name every World Series team since 1950 to 2006. I can't remember the last 15 years. Then there's the Blue Jays, whose hand is in everything. The Astros, who are still looking for help. They need bullpen help. The Padres. I can see him going to the Padres. 3. That's right. Luis. Thank you, Luis. Luis Baez. He answered the question. 3 World Series. Thank you. All right. I knew that. So I remember 2010 because I was on vacation in Florida at the time. And I remember 2014. Thank you. The years get blurred when the Mets aren't in the World Series. Who else with Liam Hendricks? And the Twins. Twins are an interesting case. I want to see where they go with them. I know they want to re-sign Nelson Cruz. Then there's Brad Hand, who was basically released by the Indians. I know the Mets would have been interested in getting him if he had gotten released a week after the team changed owners. But the team I'm hearing with Brad Hand is the Dodgers. So we'll see where that goes. He's a guy that I'd like to see the Mets get because he's left-handed. And he's pitched rather well for quite a while now. He's in. That's another place that if you're, yes, you're right. From Steve Perez, I think they had 3 players that were on all 3 championship teams. Posey was one of them. Posey's a great player. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame. You win a batting title, that gets you in the Hall of Fame if you're a catcher. Wasn't Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford? Or was Crawford, the Panda, and Posey? As I started, I don't remember now. All right, now let's go. Now we go to the big pitching market. There's so many pitchers out this week. Going through all the names. They did a comparison online. I wrote this down. There's a lot of stuff here. So I jotted a lot of notes down during the week. Now that I'm not going to be doing so much of the general stuff during the week and just doing Met stuff, these Met videos. What I'm going to do is I'll just jot stuff down and go through the course of this whole thing. All right. Trevor Bauer. The 2 teams I'm hearing, and the 1 team I think will go to, the Mets, who he's been batting his eyelashes at. It probably was Sergio Romo. Steve Perez. When was a reliever? Was it Sergio Romo? I don't know. I don't feel like going through Baseball Reference right now. If you know it, just leave it in the comments section when this video is up and ready to go, up and finished. In the meanwhile, please subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell for notification. Please like this video. Please like this live stream. Very happy the way this channel is going. And to be honest with you, I would really want to get this channel monetized very quickly. That means I want to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers very quickly. I think this new approach is really going to help it out a lot, to be honest with you. So all of you that are coming here, I want to thank you for subscribing to this channel and liking whatever videos you like. And if you write to me, I'll write back. And that's pretty much it. I've been pretty open about things here. The other channel that I have, everybody's just insane. So if you write to me about whatever I propose, if it's a trade or I talk about something I think is interesting, please leave comments in the comments section and let me know what you think and what I got right, what I got wrong. And we'll see. Steve Perez. I forgot that other guy's name, Javier Lopez. I have to look it up, Steve. I have to look it up. So Bauer is sort of out there. Now I think he's probably going to go to the Padres because they lost Mike Clevenger for a year. Trevor Bauer is a free agent. That's a team that needs more pitching, obviously. And they like making big moves. They've made big moves over the last few years. They brought in Eric Hosmer. They brought in Manny Machado. So they're a team that's they're ready to win. You know, they need a little tweak here and a tweak there, and they're probably one or two players away from really challenging the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are any team that plays in the National League have to go through the Dodgers. Either be the Mets, the Braves, or the Cubs, or the Padres. They're all going to have to go through the Dodgers at some point. And that's over the next few years, too. We'll see what happens here in New York. But now I'm going to go through some names and you may not know that are free agents. First up is Jake Arrieta, 2015 Cy Young Award winner, who, when he pitched for the Cubs, he pitched great. But for everybody else, he's pitched terrible. He pitched terrible for Baltimore when he was down, playing in the ballpark down there. And he pitched for the Phillies the last few years. He's been terrible. He's a free agent now. Pitched terrible for the Phillies. He may have one or two big outings there. But really, there's a lot of problems now in Philadelphia. I don't know what's going on down there. They're just not. Maybe, Girardi can straighten out that team down there. That's the only saving grace they might have going forward, is they have a very good manager. He'll straighten out whatever issues there are with that organization, because that organization is just, something's not right. I don't know if it's because they have Bryce Harper there or what, Then there's As Colome, who's pitched for the Rays. He's a reliever. He's pitched for the White Sox. At 47 saves in 2017, 30 saves in 2019. I've heard him connected with the Mets in the past. He had 12 saves his past season in the 60 games. His ERA is pretty good for a reliever, 2.95. He's a good arm. We'll see where he goes. Like I said, his name's been attached to the Mets over the years. Then we have Corey Clover, the two-time Cy Young Award winner. He's pitched for Cleveland. He pitched for the Rangers. He pitched one inning in one game. Guess he hurt himself. We'll see what happens with him. I don't know what kind of deal he's going to get. He's not going to get much, I wouldn't think. The first three plays, Colomé will get probably a 2-year deal. Then there's Mike Minor, who's also in Texas last year. He was with Oakland. He was with Texas, and he got traded to Oakland. He was terrible both places. Mets fans only is in the chat. What's up? What's up, my brother? What's going on? Hey, I noticed you had like a live stream. What happened to the live stream that you had? So you had a little, I guess, technical difficulties down there, huh? So I passed through on my way home today. I mentioned Mets fan online, Mets fans online, Mets fans only. Am I right? And mentioned how you inspired my channel a little bit to change course a little bit. To give the people what they want. They want Mets, Mets, Mets right now. I can tell that a lot of people are Googling them like crazy. So thank you. And thank you for mentioning me on your channel, on your video yesterday. Then we have Jake Odorizzi, who has been connected to the Mets, the Cubs, he's been mentioned, the Twins, the Nationals, and the Jays. Well, if you do the live streams, I'm going to just sort of take your time with it. Okay? If you can't go longer than you can, don't. If all you can feel is talk up for 15 minutes in the beginning, do that. All right? Then you build up to it, I've had to sort of readjust how I do my live streams because in the beginning, when I got on YouTube 2 years ago, I was just doing drawings. From Mets fans only. How do you get your picture on the screen? Well, you gotta download StreamYard. You download StreamYard onto your computer, and you can get the way it looks now. So that's how you can do that. So the first, my first channel I had, when I did live streams, I was basically me using my phone. Basically me using my phone and just doing drawings for my subscribers. And eventually I was making money off drawings, and people were sending me chats and super chats and stuff, and that was pretty cool. And then when I did my second channel, which is still running, what I started doing was I wasn't really doing too many live streams, and then I started having guests on. Oh, sorry, Steve. Steve Perez says that, did you see the reports today about the Phillies laid off 80 people from their front office, cited a major loss of revenue during 2020? I did see that, and that's probably why they're not going to resign Realmuto. They're in a lot of trouble financially down there. I mean, these teams, businesses can't keep running like this, and people are going to start losing jobs. But so I started doing the live streams on the second channel, and it was kind of awkward. So, and I wasn't monetized. I wasn't like 1,000 subscribers. I couldn't do it with my phone. And then I started getting guests on, and the guests, I learned I could do these live streams with guests, and I was doing a great job interviewing these different people for my subscribers, and I learned something new. From Mets fans only. I'm grateful for your channel. I always got your back. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So I started doing the live streams with different guests, and people loved it. I had some of the biggest names in independent comics on my channel. I don't know if you ever heard of Doug Tenaple. He's the creator of the video game Earthworm Jim. I had him on a few times. He's really my, and if you don't know the channel, it's called The Comic Book Hut, or Comic Book Hut now. And I did that on there, and then eventually when I got monetized, I was able to do the drawings again. I was making a lot of money, super chats, and that kind of dried up because the comic book fans are a little prickly. We'll leave it at that. They're a little grumpy. They can go from one extreme to another in terms of their moods. So either they're really happy or they're really angry. So it goes from one extreme to another extreme, and they're very immature. And in fact, I think I had one of them was writing to me today. For Mets fans only, Earthworm Jim was awesome. He's a good guy. That Doug Tenaple, he's a nice guy. Got to know him a little bit. Talked on the phone. He's a very nice man. Extremely nice. Very principled. And really, he's one of my favorite people to interview. He's one of my favorite people to interview on the other channel. So he's a really nice man. But that's kind of where I'm at right now with these. So the last few weeks, I've been doing these live streams. I don't know what the result's going to be after this live stream. I'm still going to go a little while. I'll probably go till 9 o'clock, I think. And live streams, more and more people coming in. I mean, I could just tell. Earthworm Jim. Well, Earthworm Jim is the game. That's where it started. But he's also a comic book character, which he's done a comic book. It's a really graphic novel of the character's origin. I have it. I did a review of it a few months back. He also does this other character, Bigfoot Bill, which I've done reviews for too, which I got recently, which I think is actually better. And I've reviewed a lot of his stuff. He's a very good writer. He's a very good artist, but he's probably a great writer. So, where was I? So we're going to go for a little while longer. Probably go to 9 o'clock. And like I said, I'll have videos tomorrow. Some of the things we'll talk about is I'll talk about Steven Matz and DJ LeMahieu, maybe Steven Matz, DJ LeMahieu, Don Smith, and something else. We'll see where this other thing goes. It's all Mets-centric. So if you're a Mets fan and you like this stuff, this is the channel for you. Now, when I do these live streams, I feel that to do sort of This Week in Baseball kind of rendition, but a Mets edition of it, I'll throw in some other baseball-related stuff. So it's not just all Mets. If you go to my channel, it's a mixture, but I'm gonna do just straightforward Mets stuff, I think. Who else is on my list? Okay, James Paxton, who didn't pitch that great for the Yankees this year, but was 15-6 last year. He's got a winning record as a pitcher. He's 57-33. He'd be a pretty good fit for a team that's close. I don't know where the Mets would be with that. Because they got DeGrom. This is the Mets rotation as far as I can tell. DeGrom, Peterson, Stroman right now. Seth Lugo's going to get put back in the bullpen. I wouldn't be surprised if they non-tended Robert Gsellman or trade him, or just keep him in the bullpen. There have been issues between Sandy and Gsellman in the past. We'll see where that goes. James Paxton, he was good last year. He's not so good this year. He's a winning pitcher. We'll see. Then there's Rick Porcello, who pitched for the Mets. He was terrible. He stunk. Terrible. Yeah, I don't think he has anything left. He's the 2018 Cy Young Award winner and the Red Sox. He was terrible. Terrible. As bad as it gets. Michael Walker was bad too for the Mets. Masahiro Tanaka, who I've been saying he's probably going to go back to the Yankees. Did you see that Sophia Cohen liked my tweet about my channel? Crazy. No, I did not see that. I'm not on Twitter all the time. I'm usually on the other side of my Twitter. Steve Perez. I didn't think Porcello was going to be great, but was somewhat surprised at just how awful he was. Oh, terrible. And hopefully we won't have to deal with these kind of signings. I was just going to say Geraldo Cruz. Porcello was a classic well-pumped dumpster dive, and you're absolutely right. Walker was disgusting from Mets fans only. Walker was gross. Yeah, he was not good. Yeah, so I think Tanaka will go back to the Yankees. Then we have Taiwan Walker, who was with the Blue Jays this past year. He was okay, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's got upside, but he's always hurt. He's on his third team. He was with the Mariners. He's with the Mariners. He was with the Diamondbacks, and with the Blue Jays, he's really bad. From Matisse Cardenas, hopefully the Mets get Lindor. Well, we'll see. If you've seen my video, I think I came up with a pretty good trade proposal. We'll go over it again, as people were stigmatized by that on my proposal. And in the meanwhile, please subscribe to this channel and please like this video. And I'm a Mets fan and a New Yorker, as you can tell from my accent. And I do love talking about baseball, and I do love talking about the Mets, and I want your help to help this channel get to 1,000 subscribers. I want this channel to really I want to have a lot of fun with this. And see, the other channel, it was fun until it wasn't fun. It was fun when they made, when I would laugh at certain people, then they would send like a mob after me. That wasn't so much fun. From Steve Perez. There's a few intriguing Japanese arms being posted from the NPB this winter. I'm not very familiar with them, but that one guy pitched for Japan in the 2017 WBC. Yeah, I don't have the list here of these guys. That's the one thing that's out of my jurisdiction. Anything out of out of this hemisphere, sort of not in my realm. I think it's not in your realm either. But and the last name here is Adam Wainwright, the Met killer. What was your other channel? Comic Book Hut, Steve Perez. That's my other channel. Comic Book Hut. So Adam Wainwright's the other guy, the other Met killer. He would be good for a young team, like the Padres. But I don't see him leaving the Cardinals. I think he'll retire as a Cardinal. That's what I think. I don't know what you think. Let me know what you think. All right. Let's get back to the Mets, I guess. All right. So, according to Buster Only, the writer, who works for ESPN, I guess, he said that the Mets are all in on the Big Four. As you tell from the title of this video, JT Realmuto, Trevor Bauer, George Springer, and Francisco Lindor. That's certainly four horsemen if I've ever seen them. I said earlier today that George Springer was probably going to sign a contract with the Mets. The only real competition they have is really the Red Sox. From Steve Perez again, I don't think the Cardinals will let Molina Wainwright go. The fact that they've both still been solid for that kind of nails it home for me. I don't think that Molina is that bad of a signing. The only problem is the age. His defense is still there. I would like to see a guy that is a really great catcher to be on this staff. The Mets have not really had a good catcher in a very long time, and I think there would be improvement very quickly with this team defensively. So I think that would be somebody that you could look at seriously, and you won't have to give up a lot of money for him. But it's not about the money; it's more the years. You give him a 2-year deal. With him, he wants to play every day because he wants that record. I'm sure he wants that National League record of catching. That's fans only. What's the other channel? My other channel is Comic Cut. So I didn't think that signing Molina was that bad of an idea for 2 years. If you're gonna put all the effort into getting all these other players, you need, like I said earlier in the live stream, you need a championship catcher. If you have championship aspirations, you have to bring in a guy that knows how to run a team, knows how to run a game, still good defensively, can throw out runners still. That's been a major problem here too, as the Mets have had a difficult time throwing out runners. And there comes a point where you have to say, you know what, look, you bat him 8th in the lineup and just say to him, look, Yachty, we want you just to worry about the pitching staff. Whatever we get out of you as a hitter is fine. This lineup is good enough that they can live. They can live with him batting 240, 250. I have no problem with that. Only problem is you can't have that be the first move you make. Because if you let that be the first move, then people are going to start complaining. I mean, I know them. I know a lot of the Mets fans. They're going to complain. But do you really want to sign Realmuto to a 5-year deal or 7-year deal, and he's never won anything as a player? Or James McCann, same mo, who's not nearly as good of an offensive player as the other guys. From the Say Hey Kid, just subscribed. Good channel. I'm listening in now. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I will have live streams up every Saturday. Just to give you an idea of what this channel will be about, just in terms of kind of content. I was doing sort of a general kind of stuff with the baseball, but I'm noticing that I do a lot of Mets stuff now, which I'm a Mets fan anyway. I was doing Mets stuff anyway. Everything's going to be primarily Mets now. 99%, if not all of it. It's going to be Mets content. Because obviously people are talking about the Mets. People want to discuss it. I think a lot of people are very happy about the Mets being good now with this new owner, willing to spend the money, and he's not Jeff Wilpon. He's not good old Jeff with his sourpuss and his sort of not being able to talk to him, and the fact that the owner's so accessible online. I think that makes a big difference, quite frankly. So every day from Sunday through Friday, I'm going to do my best to get 3 videos to you all. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 in the evening. But the one thing I was very surprised about was the video I posted this morning, which is titled Mets will sign free agent George Springer to a 7-year, $200 million contract. I posted that at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got almost 1,000 views on that video. So that was very surprising to me that I had that many views on that particular video. So I want to thank all of you for watching that video and subscribing based off of that. And then on Saturdays, I will have 2 videos, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and then of course 1 live stream like I'm doing now. Now I'm going to do this content in this format until after the Super Bowl is done with. Once the football season is done with, and we get past the Super Bowl, which is in the beginning of February, the following Sunday, I will put the show on Sunday nights. So you get to watch this show on Sunday nights. Because I was thinking, once the season starts, it's going to be very difficult to do a live stream on a Saturday. Because as you know, most games are on Saturday nights. So on Sunday, mostly day games on Sunday. So I figured that it would be a good idea to jump on Sunday. Now, I've also thought about doing live streams after games, but I don't think that's a good idea. They don't really want you to do stuff like that. From Steve Perez. I'd be surprised to see Molina lead the Cards, but he could actually be a good fit to help mentor Nito. I think Mets fans seriously undervalue Nito. I don't think he's that bad. I think he can hit a little bit. His defense is okay. But the Mets have a big prospect, Francisco Alvarez, who I mentioned. Did they want to put Realmuto? Because they bring in Realmuto. If you have Realmuto, then you're probably not going to keep Alvarez. That means I don't think Alvarez is that good. So that's the value of having Molina here. You can also mentor Alvarez a little bit, and spring training and whatnot. From Geraldo Cruz, would have loved Realmuto, but I hear he isn't crazy about New York. I think Molina would be most likely short term. It would be short term, 1-2 years with Molina, because you're figuring 2 years Alvarez could be ready. From Mets fans only, you have over 1,000 subs. Why are you quitting? I'm not quitting. You know what it is? That channel has maxed itself out, and I will do videos when I'm needed. I'm sort of like a vigilante with that channel. That channel is very different than this channel. That's I'm a critic of the industry, of the comic book industry, with that channel, and I am a consumer advocate. There's a lot of real lack of professionalism in the comic book industry. It is like the Wild West, quite frankly. And that they are some of the roughest people I've ever dealt with online. the comic book creators and some of the fans. 99% of the 99% of the creators are pretty crappy, and 95% of the fans are rough to deal with. And a lot of it has to deal with the immaturity of it too. That I deal with a lot of immature people on that side. Just to sort of bring that up. Nito was solid on defense, and since he worked with that launch angle guru who helped GD Martinez, he stepped it up offensively. Let's not forget the Mets blocked him this year with Chirinos. But the thing about Nito is he got sick. He got the COVID. He missed the whole season. He missed the whole season. Also from Steve. Also, I think Alvarez a few years away. Though my top choice would be Realmuto, even before a potential Springer or Bauer signing. Well, I'll say, like you said, and like Geraldo said, Realmuto's not big on. It's not big on wanting to play in New York. But we'll see what happens with that. That's where the biggest. I mean, it's funny. People are annoyed about the age, but nobody disliked the video. They disliked the George Springer video. Well, Nito wasn't going to play. I mean, Nito was going to play, but he must have been still sick. I mean, people recover from that, but the recovery is weird in some people. I don't normally go this long. This is why you always have to have guests on. If you don't have guests, you get worn out. But all right. So another big story that happened this week with the Mets, which sort of happened at the end of the week, happened on Wednesday, was that the Mets' new owner, Steve Cohen, was asked by Steve Gelbs during his interview on SNY, because he's a big art collector, Steve Cohen. Uncle Stevie, he's a big art collector. And Steve Gelbs asked him, well, what's a piece of memorabilia in baseball that he'd love to own? So he walked off camera and he says, well, I have something here that you might be interested in. I had the Buckner ball. Like, so cavalier about it. And he told the story about how he bought it at an auction for $410,000. And he's going to put it in the Mets Museum. I did a video on that, I mean, it was shocking. I was because he talked about it on Twitter a little bit with the fans, asking where the ball was. So when they asked him that question, and even Steve Gelbs was like, I was like, I couldn't believe it either. And I can't wait to see this ball. I've never seen it. I think most people haven't seen it. And according to Cohen, he said that he bought it off of out of auction from Charlie Sheen. I hope he cleaned that. That ball got sanitized after Charlie Sheen had it in his possession for who knows how long. And then you start seeing different things from different people, like Keith Olbermann, that crazy guy. Every 4 years when they have like a presidential election, Keith Olbermann comes out of like his hideout in the mental ward in the nervous hospital. And he comes out and says crazy stuff. But in between the crazy stuff, he says he has Mookie's cleats. And I think someone else has Buckner's glove. Where Buckner's cleats? I'll have to have them. I'll have to see what those look like. And I love to see his pants, because the pants was the thing. The pants was the thing that saw the ball last. His uniform, Steve Perez. I wish I could have watched that, but I don't have cable anymore. But I was hoping SNY would post it on YouTube. I saw clips on Twitter about the Buckner ball. All crazy. It is on SNY. They have an SNY YouTube channel, Steve. Why don't you go watch it on there? So it was quite shocking. I mean, Steve Cohen. He looks like a great guy. I mean, he looks like a regular guy. He always looks like he has a smile on his face. But I guess when you're worth $14 billion, you're gonna have a smile on your face. And he looks like he's got a nice family. They're all Mets fans. It's quite the contrast from the Wilpons. Wilpons were very guarded, very secretive. Oh, you sub to it? Oh, okay. from Geraldo Cruz. It's got to kill Jeff Wilpon. How quickly the fans have embraced Cohen. But the difference between Cohen and Wilpons is that Steve genuinely loves the Mets. I think the Wilpons did. I don't think the Wilpons really genuinely like the fans. Jeff was a pain in the ass, The reason the team got sold is because of Jeff. That's the real reason. They didn't want to sell the team. And in fact, they still own part of the team, They're just not running the team. They're not in the day-to-day operations. They're still going to make money off the team. But what the story is that Jeff, that Sulcats, who's the other owner, he's the silent owner of the Mets for a long time. And he's the president. He was the president until Sandy took over. He'd been with the team, been one of the partners for 40 years with Fred and Nelson Doubleday. And he wanted to retire. And his family, his kids didn't want to take over the team. They didn't want to run the team. So, hold on a second. So, it's got to stand up a minute. So, the children didn't want to run the team because they don't get along with Jeff. And because they didn't get along with Jeff, they were stuck. Because then they don't have any money. Okay. So, if they weren't going to help him run the team, then they were going to have to figure out how to run the team with no money, So at that point, they had to put the team up for sale because the Mets were not going to be any kind of legitimate organization going forward. So they put the team up for sale, and that's how Steve Cohen got involved. And A-Rod, Major League Baseball was never going to let the Mets get sold to them. Was never going to let that happen. You can't have a guy that was suspended several times for steroids, take over the team, who doesn't have the money out of pocket, and he has Jennifer Lopez, who was going to be the person who was going to run this team. Wasn't going to be A-Rod. He's going to be the primary owner of this team, and she didn't have that money either. So they would cobble them together, and they were so far under what they needed, what Steve Cohen had spent on the club. There's no way they were going to run this team properly, and they're not married. I'm not judging them, but the point is if one of them if they'd gotten into a fight, they would have been fighting over this team. Can you imagine if they had bought the team, and they had started like running the team? And then, maybe A-Rod cheats on her. Because that's happened, that's been the talk, that A-Rod cheated on her, and in the past. So can you have imagined if that had happened, the Mets would have been an even bigger mess, So they were never gonna let them run the team. They're not stable enough, personally. They haven't grown up, either one of them. And they both ticked off. The funny part was during the introductory press conference with Steve Cohen, Maggie Gray, who's one of the sort of people at WFAN, has her own show with Mark Malusis, who's the ugliest man on TV. If you ever see him, he's not good looking. You got a face for radio. But she asked him the weirdest question, the most uncomfortable question. She says to Steve, have you heard from the other group that was bidding on the team? What did A-Rod and J-Lo think of you buying the team? First of all, why would they even talk to him about losing out? That's the first thing. Second thing, what would he care what they thought? And thirdly, A-Rod and J-Lo are used to not getting any kind of J-Lo and A-Rod are not used to being told no. So they were all ticked off that they were told no by Major League Baseball. From Steve Perez again. A-Rod shouldn't be allowed anywhere near baseball, broadcasting, ownership, or any other capacity. It's a disgrace. Well, He paid his due and got suspended. Also, from Steve, why are you trashing the Moose? Yeah, that was weird that Maggie wasted her one question on. I don't like Moose. Mark Malusis. He's a weird guy. I've said that before I had this channel. I would tell my friends and stuff that Mark Malusis. If you want to know what Mark Malusis thought, you listen to Mike Francesa. And with Sal Licata, who's the other guy that's on SNY, and Mark Malusis is on SNY, and so is Mark Malusis. They're always on every night to get their thoughts on things. So if you want to know what Sal Licata thinks, you always want to know what you always want to listen to Joe Benenga when he was on. So they were like acolytes. So I always knew what they thought because they always, uh, parrot of what they say. Here's the thing about Mark Malusis and Maggie Gray. I can describe their show in one sound. Boring. They're boring. Malusis is boring, and he shouldn't be on TV, quite frankly. And Maggie's boring too. Somebody I read somewhere online that they're so outraged, but if they're so outraged, how are they so boring? It's just my opinion. I want to point out that one of my videos that's gotten a lot of flack is this video I did on Carton and Roberts. I did like 2 weeks ago, and it had sort of like a second life over the last couple of days. That's like the most disliked video I got. 25 dislikes on this video. Let's see what's up to now. 25. 9 likes, 25 dislikes. From Steve Perez. Moose has been on SNY for years. I miss Joe B. Him and Evan were the best show on WFAN. I don't know about that. And the thing about Evan, I said this in my videos, Evan is like a chameleon. He'll take on the personality of his partner. He doesn't say bro anymore. You notice with the Carton thing, he didn't say that anymore. You notice he doesn't say that anymore, and it's weird. He sounds a lot like Carton now. And after 1 week, I had a tough time figuring out who was saying what. Just like when he was together with Joe, they kind of sounded alike because they would use the same phrases. It was very strange. Very, very strange. All right. Now, where was I on the things to talk about? All right. So we're talking about Yadi and Molina. Aside from the Mets talking tonight, I mentioned him in a video which has gotten a lot of views on it from yesterday. Got a lot of views on that. And the reason I brought it up is because of the fact that he had mentioned in an interview, in a Spanish language interview, Steve, you're right. Evan has changed since being paired with Carton. They should have paired him with J.J. Jastrzemski, the guy that screams. He's on SNY too. He screams. He screams like a lunatic. He's another one who's a caricature. He's like a caricature of Russo. But we love Mad Dog. Mad Dog's different. So Yadi had said in an interview, in a Spanish language interview, that the Mets were very motivated to sign him. Him and the Yankees were. I didn't mention the Yankees in the video because I thought it was more interesting to talk about the Mets. Nobody cares about the Yankees. And I would point out about the Yankees, if you're a Yankee fan and you're following this channel, you might not like the things I'm going to say. Like, for instance, when the Yankees lose and the Mets win, it's a good day. And there's going to be a lot of great days ahead. So the Yankees are also motivated to sign Molina. They're also in the running for a catcher. I don't see them going for Realmuto either. Because the Mets aren't going to get outbid for Realmuto. And if he's going to play in New York, he's going to play for the Mets. They have more, Cohen has more money than the Yankees do, believe it or not. I could see McCann going there. I could see Molina going there more. What other place for Molina? The Cardinals, obviously. That's probably what he'll probably end up going. The Padres, I've heard, and the Angels. Those are some of the other teams. So we'll see where Yadi goes. He fit in real well with the Padres. They're a young team. The Angels, he should stay away from the Angels. The Angels are in a bad situation there. They got one great player, and that's about it. And they got an old, decrepit Albert Pujols. Then another story that happened over the last day, and that's Bartolo Colon. I did a video on Bartolo. He's getting ready. He wants to play again. He wants to play another season. He wants to play another season. And he wants to finish his career with the Mets. He really loved playing for the Mets. He played for a lot of teams. And he was a big fan favorite here. And we all loved him here. I mean, he was a very popular guy because he was a fun guy. You could see yourself, playing with a guy like that in softball. There's always one guy in softball that you play with that's like that. He sort of kind of came across very down to earth, sort of self-deprecating in terms of his humor. He's very aware of how he looks and how he comes across. He always sort of has this sort of smile on his face. A great athlete. I mean, really, you look at his side, you wouldn't realize how great of an athlete he is. But we kind of saw that, and you saw the improvement of his hitting, because the first 2 years he was just so bad, and then he hits that home run, where he, it just defied logic. I like the highlight of the whole season for every team, from the Say Hey Kid. Just saw your video on Bartolo Colon. Is he really coming back? Well, he wants to come back. Now, whether the Mets are interested in bringing him back, that's another story. He hasn't pitched in 2 years, but he always had great control. But he didn't pitch well in 2017, and he didn't pitch well in 2018 when he was with Texas and the Braves. So I don't know if he'll be back. But if he comes back, maybe he'll get an invite. It would be nice if they sort of said goodbye to him in spring training. The Mets have done that in the past. They did that with Howard Johnson years ago, and they had David Cohn pitch for them in 2003. So that happens, or Seaver in 87. And those are some of the things that we'll keep an eye on that, but I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that they'll have him in spring training even. So we'll see where that goes. Now let's do like an update on Nolan Arenado. I did a video about a week ago about where he might be going. There's been no real update on him, quite frankly. What we see, from what I could tell, the team I keep hearing is the Dodgers. Whether the Rockies want to trade him within division is something we'll keep an eye on. He's not happy out there in Colorado. They're not winning. I have to sort of think about it, where he's going to go. If you want to see that video, that's a high viewed video. I think that's number 2 on my views, and now number 3, I think. So if you want to watch a video after this, that's a good video to watch. We'll see what happens with him. He's a great defensive player. I know the Mets will be talking to them. That I can guarantee you that one. The Mets will be talking to him about him to the Rockies. But there's really nothing new there. Like I said, next week a lot of stuff's going to really start picking up, starting on Monday. Monday until the following week. Let me check the dates on here, just so we have an idea. I'm going to try to stick with this schedule in terms of the live streams, I think, on every Saturday. Let's see. So the winter meetings, so we got this week, which is the 29th to the 5th. Things will start picking up on Monday. If you're on Twitter, you want to follow me at Mets Hut. If you're on Twitter, I probably should put the link into the chat. You put the link into the chat. So you want to follow me on there, be my guest. Yeah, put my link in there. See if I can find it. Yeah. So at Mets Hut on Twitter. You can find me there. Also, if you want to follow me and subscribe to my other channel, I don't do that much right now because there's nothing really to talk about there at the moment. So you can find me there at Comic Book Hut. But please follow me on Twitter. My Twitter account is very quiet, so really you want to get me here on the channel. I have a lot of stuff that I do during the day, so it's difficult for me to sort of write. And I always get notification when people write to me on Twitter, and it's annoying. So if you want to get a hold of me at this channel, the Baseball Hut. But what was I saying? So a lot of things are going to pick up over the next couple of days, starting on Monday, which is the 30th. So from Monday to next week, this channel is going to get revved up, and everybody else is going to get revved up to the winter meetings that start kind of on December 6th, and it goes through December 10th. And on the 10th, it will have the Rule 5 draft. So for 4 days, we're going to be talking a lot about trades and movement and a lot of stuff with the Mets. I'm going to do my best to get you videos up very quickly. It's not going to be easy because I do work. And I'll continue to do the regular live streams. I think to keep a schedule is very important, for all of you, quite frankly, and for myself. So, and I'm going to keep this schedule for as long as I can. And hopefully you subscribe to this channel. Like I said, there's going to be 3 videos up every day for the most part. Unless something happens and I'm able to do a video. But sometimes I do videos on my car. The Yadier Molina video was done on my car. What was interesting about that was that I'm able to scream into the phone. I'm able to scream into the phone. I can't always do that when I'm here at the hut. But so we'll have videos 3 days a week, or 3 days every day, which is a little bit different than most other channels. Most other channels do videos every few days. I do videos every day, 3 times a day. So from Sunday through Friday, 3 videos a day, and then Saturday, 2 videos, and then a live stream like we're doing right now. And I'll just give you an idea what I do. Basically during the week, since the channel's changed now, it's all going to be Mets content. For the live streams, I'll do basically primarily Mets, but a lot of other stuff and baseball. As you can tell by the title of the live streams, This Week in Baseball. So an homage to that old show that Mel Allen had back in the 80s and 90s, which was so great. It was that highlight show that he had. And that was a lot of fun. So I thought it would be interesting just to have the live streams like that. YouTube wants to be consistent about certain things. And then we'll do these live streams every Saturday until we get to the end of the football season. And we get to the last game of the football season, which is the Super Bowl. And then the following week, we'll start up on Sundays. And then what will be great is that will lead us into spring training. Probably the following week, I would think. So there'll be a lot to talk about. January is going to be interesting. After the sort of winter meetings, so I'm hopeful, I'm trying to really push this channel, get monetized very quickly. Hopefully this channel grows just as quickly. From Lords to Base God, do more than just Mets, please. Well, I'm going to go where the people are, and I know a lot of people are. I'll do the stuff about the other teams on the live streams. I talked about a lot of players here and a lot of teams tonight. So I think if you are interested, you want me to do the stuff, you want to watch stuff where I'm in the live streams. If there's some big story, I'll do a story on the other teams. But right now, everybody is, from what I can tell online, people are Googling the Mets a lot. and YouTube is based off of what Google was doing. So it's based off of what people are looking up. So if you have an interest in the Mets, you're a Mets fan, you want to do a YouTube channel, go right ahead. Your channel's going to grow very quickly. Now my content over the last month has increased since the World Series because I've been doing 3 videos a day. Because prior to that, during the season, when I started at the end of August, I wasn't doing a lot of content. So I was doing that content every few days, and the channel was growing a little bit every day, but it wasn't like now. I mean, this is just insane. From Lord the Base God, I'm a Yankee fan, but I enjoy your content. I don't know if we could be friends. No, I'm joking. Please subscribe. Oh, that's great. I will talk about the Yankees, but it's going to be in a negative way. Elrod, let me read your name right. Elrod, the Base God. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me say this, but when the Yankees lose and the Mets win, it's a good day. And I expect great days ahead. Yeah, I will talk about the Yankees. I do talk about the Yankees. Yankees aren't spending like the Yankees should. George wouldn't be doing that. He wouldn't be taking a knee like his son's doing. He wouldn't care that he's losing money. He'd be spending money anyway. But all right, so I got these 2 videos that I did today. I'm going to go over these. Going to go over again. If you're a Yankees fan, don't be offended. Please subscribe. So I did these 2 videos today. One was about George Springer, which I did this morning. I did them last night. Like when I'm done with this live stream, I'm going to do videos. I'll take a bit of a rest for about a half hour, just to give my voice a rest. And I did 2 videos last night. One was on George Springer, and the other one was on Francisco Lindor. So George Springer, I mentioned that he's 31 years old, as you all know. He's played for the Astros all these years. I thought that a fair kind of contract for him would be 5 years for $140 million, which is $28 million a year. Because I looked at his contract from this past season, he made about $21 million. Okay, and I thought that for 5 years, I think 3 of those years he will be your center fielder for your New York Mets, and he'd be pretty solid. He'd be very good. And then you could kind of move him around. Plus, you got by then the DH will be a permanent fixture in the National League. There's some kind of talk of going back and forth on it on the DH for 2021, but they should just do it and get it over with. There's no reason to have the pitcher hitting anymore in the National League. That's past. That day has seen. We've seen the end of that. And you can DH Springer if you want. And eventually he'll become like a corner outfielder, probably a left fielder. So I thought that was kind of a fair contract. And you figure he's going to want a long contract, So I thought maybe you give him a couple of options for him, for team options of 2 years. You can't have these player options. The Mets gave Brad Brock a player option. He pitched terrible. Who was the other pitcher they gave a player option to? Oh, Dellin Betances. No wonder why those guys pitched terrible. They knew they had like another year. This is how dumb Brody Van Wagenen was as a GM. He gave 2 pitchers options and relievers too, team options, player options. It's crazy. Why he did that is so stupid. But you give Springer two years extra. So I thought that giving him another $60 million for those 2 years, which would be market value, but it'd be making a lot more. You always make more money at the end of these contracts anyway. The only contract I know that the player made less was with David Wright. When they gave him that contract, he took less at the back end of the contract. So Springer would probably get about $200 for 7 years. But people are annoyed. Why you give him 7 years? He's getting 5 years. And like I said, the first 3 years he'll play every day. You're not going to lose much with him. And then after that, it's going to be a decline. He's an outfielder, okay? So he's not like a middle infielder, but eventually he's going to be out of the middle of the field. So I thought that was pretty fair. People were a little annoyed with that. They all saw he's an old player. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm just taking a guess with the money. I'm just taking a guess with the money. But I think that's about fair. And then I did this Francisco Lindor video, and people started bugging out today. So I went through this trade for Lindor. So the Mets would get Francisco Lindor. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Now you need to check these videos out, but I will go over this again. So if you're coming in here, please, I'm going to double down on this. I feel that they should go for one of these other shortstops. And the reason I say it is because he's smaller than the other guys. And guys that are small in the middle infield do not last a long time. I can give you plenty of examples of guys that don't last a long time. And they're little. Francisco Lindor is 5'11". Now, it's taller than an average man, but he is smaller than, say, Javi Baez and Trevor Story and who's the other player? And Corey Seager. He has some injuries. But if you look at the big players that have been 6'2" and taller, they usually last a long time at shortstop, like Cal Ripken Jr. and Jared Jeter and A-Rod. And Nomar was a little bit smaller, so you take a lot of wear and tear, up the middle. Now he's 27 years old, so that kind of offsets things too. But he's going to have 1 year left on his contract. And they've already let it be known that they're going to trade him. So they lose value. He loses value as a player. So people are annoyed at me that I'm not giving them in this trade enough value. From Mr. Mysterio, I really like the shortstop, the rookie shortstop Jimenez. He showed he can play in the big leagues. Absolutely. So now the reason I put him in this, we'll go to the minor leaguers. I went on the MLB.com and their Indians page, and they mentioned that the Indians need outfield help, they need middle infield help, and they need help with the relief pitching. So I came up with two minor leaguers that the Mets have. One is called Carlos Cortez, who's a middle infielder. He's a second baseman, but he's a middle infield, and he can hit. He's more of a hitter than he is any kind of position player. So I thought it was fair to give him in the trade. These are minor guys. And Riley Gilliam, who's a relief pitcher who the Mets talked about a lot in spring training. He was on the taxi squad. He was the 60 on that 60-man roster. Oh, I need you. Look. So I thought that he was fair game because he's kind of considered the best reliever in the minor leagues that the Mets have. And then I went to Jimenez. I would point out Jimenez was one of the top prospects in the Mets organization. For 2 years, he was either at the top position or number 2 or 3 over the last 2 or 3 years. And he showed how good he was defensively this past season by the way he played, where he was playing shortstop every day. And he finished 7th in the league and the rookie voting. If he hadn't gotten sick, he probably would have finished higher on there. He hit pretty good for his age. He's only 22 years old. He reminds me a lot of Ray Ordonez. He's not as good as Ordonez, but he's a very good defensive shortstop. He's going to save a lot of runs. He's going to win Gold Gloves. If he plays every day, he's going to win a Gold Glove. I guarantee you that. Now, Lindor is a great defensive shortstop. He's not Lindor, but he's going to win Gold Gloves. All right. He's a left-handed hitter. He sprays the ball around. But he'll get on base. He gets on base. He walks. He works the count. He's an everyday player, I think. He needs a little time. He needs a little time to develop his bat a little bit more. Because he probably would have played in AAA this past season. Because I don't think he played in AAA last year. So he skipped AAA. So he played, in the big leagues when he pushed him in AAA all year. Then we have Brandon Nimmo, who I said, if he's on your team, you're going to love him. Brandon is not a center fielder, all right? He is a corner outfielder. I think he needs to play every day. I think he'll probably hit 240 against a lefty. You probably need a little bit of help, and you probably need somebody that's going to be in a platoon with him. But I think he can play every day. If you play him every day, he performs very well late in the game. He's not afraid to get big hits. He'll get big hits for you if he's on your team. I guarantee you that. He's great on the bench. He's a hustler. He walks a lot. He's got an extremely high on-base percentage. It's a 390 on-base percentage. So, and he's a good character guy. He's a leader on the team. He's excellent to have around. He's a good citizen. He does everything well. He's got power. He's got great speed. For a big guy, he's got a lot of speed. He's one of the fastest guys in the Mets. Now, people are going to say, well, they should trade Rosario. But here's the thing about Rosario. He only has 3 years of control. And he might not be a shortstop every day. And he lost his shortstop position in September. He wasn't playing shortstop in September. And the Mets have talked about moving him around the infield, the outfield, and playing him everywhere, basically. So there really wasn't there's really no place for him. But they want him to be sort of a super sub. They want him to go in the outfield. I guess they want him to play third base a little bit, play second base. He does have value as an offensive player. But he still has a lot of growing to do as a player. But he might not be a shortstop. And he's got 3 years left on his contract. And then he'll be a free agent. Now, with Nimmo, I think he has 2 years on and he could be a free agent. But Jimenez has 5. So Jimenez having the 5, you'll have him playing shortstop for the next 5 years. So I think this trade, I don't know what people think. I know I got a lot of negatives. They say, well, that's not enough. Some people say that's not enough. That's too much. You're depleting the farm system. Really, not really. Because the Mets have a lot of talent in the middle of the infield. And I didn't give up Ronnie Mauricio, who's the number one guy. I mean, Jimenez, you already got a major league player. And Nimmo's a major league player. And Nimmo can lead off. Like I said, he's playing. What kind of everyday players? Here's Joe Rodriguez. I'm a Yankees fan, but I would love to see third baseman Nolan Arenado in a Mets jersey. That would be cool. But then that's a different kind of trade. That I have to think about. Because that trade would have to involve probably J.D. Davis. And they probably want somebody to play third. They probably want Jeff McNeil. I mean, I'm not giving up Jeff McNeil. There's certain guys I'm not giving up. Jeff McNeil's going to be talked about a lot this off season. I am not a big fan of trading Jeff McNeil. Okay. The lineup I want to see is, or a good lineup would be, perfect lineup would be Springer, Jeff McNeil, Michael Conforto, or Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, Conforto. I have to sit down and think about it, to be honest with you. Mets have a lot of moving parts here. That's why I see like J.D. Davis getting moved too. There's certain guys going to get traded. I mean, the one good thing about Cano getting moved is now they're less left-handed. They can move McNeil at second, although I'd put him at third, quite frankly, because then he's not in the middle infield. I don't want him in the middle infield. He's a little injury happy. He gets a little hurt a little more than I'd like, and he plays very hard. I'd play him at third. He's got a lot of Carney Lansford in him in terms of as a hitter. He can really hit. He's going to win a batting title one day. I can guarantee you that. So I'd like to see him play third. Get us, maybe put Lindor at shortstop. You still have Rosario. You can put Rosario at second. You still have Luis Guillorme. You know, he's a great defensive player, and he hit a little bit this past year. What about Rod, the base god? What about Dom Smith? Dom Smith is not going anywhere either. Can't forget about Dom. Just get back Dom fifth. Yeah, I have to sit down and do the lineup. I don't. There's too many moving parts right now. Too many sort of question marks. But you know, they need a catcher. They need a center field. Those are the priorities for the Mets. This thing with Lindor is not a priority. They'll probably do a trade for a shortstop, but that's not a priority, quite frankly. But that's why they need the DH in the National League for the Mets, because then they can DH Dom part of the time, and then they can play. This is how I look at it. You play Dom on the days that you have a Pete DHing. They both play every day. If you have like a ground ball pitcher, you put him in the outfield. You know what I'm saying? And if you have, or a fly ball, I don't know. Yeah, a ground ball pitcher. A ground ball pitcher in the infield. You want to have your best infield. Well, Dom's a great infield. He's a great first baseman. But you can switch him off. You could play Pete, as DH. And then on certain days, you could put Dom in left field. See, to me, left field is kind of an open position. For me. Where you can play a lot of people all over the place. Same goes for DH, Dom would either play first most of the time or play left field. He wouldn't be DHing. He wouldn't be DHing much. I can guarantee you that. He would be the primary DH, but he'll also be played in first base. And, you got to find time for the two of them to play because they got to play every day. I think I mentioned that with Dom. Dom is the kind of hitter where he plays well in short spans of games, which you saw how great he played. And he'll play great in a short series if when they get to postseason. But Pete doesn't play well in a short series. He's not going to hit well in a short series. And he'll hit in the long run. He'll hit great. When the pressure's on, he'll play great. But in 60 games, he didn't play great. The first 45 games, Pete did not have a good season. The last week and a half, he played great because he had to get those. He had to be respectable at that point. But they're different kind of hitters. But, to me, I'd want them both in the lineup. They're both going to be in the lineup. So that's why having a good leadoff hitter is very important. That's why George Springer being here is sort of, to me, that would be the first big move I would make, would be George Springer. Because they need a center fielder, need a leadoff hitter, and makes Nimmo expendable. And then you can sort of make left field sort of a tryout for different guys. You can put Davis out there a good part of the time. A good part of the time you could play Davis out there. I'd rather put Davis in the outfield than play him at third. You can't play third. From Steve Perez, you have to primarily play Nimmo, assuming he's not traded in left. He's an above-average defender in left, but more importantly, provides a type of elite offense that's scarce in the game today. That's why I said that he'd be a good piece in a Lindor trade. He is very underrated, I'm telling you. If you don't see him every day, you don't pay attention to him. He's always on base, constantly getting on base. It's all about the on-base percentage, more than the batting average. Yeah, but so let's see. So you got a catcher. You don't have a catcher. That's open. First would be Pete and Dom. Okay. Second base is open right now because we just don't know where they're going to put McNeil. For this purposes, we'll put McNeil. We'll put the squirrel at third base. Okay, I don't have a shortstop right now. I got two shortstops. Rosario and Jimenez. Jimenez has the edge. He'll probably be the starter. You could put Nimmo in left field with Davis, because Davis can't play third. I'm not playing Davis at third. I can live with him in the outfield, and you could DH him a little bit. You don't have a center fielder, and your right fielder is Michael Conforto. Okay, and it's a pretty good offensive team just through the guys that you have here, and the DH. And the DH would be either Pete or Davis or whomever you want to put there. Since they don't have Cano now at second base. They need a catcher, and they need a center fielder. Those are priorities. I can fill second base with whoever I have here. I could put Jimenez there if he's not traded, and I have Rosario to play second if you have Jimenez at short. All right. The way baseball is now, it doesn't matter where you bat these guys. It's more about the lineups than about the defense. This is not a great defensive team. Okay, quite frankly. I mean, if they play Jimenez every day, it's short. It's pretty good. Pete has got to play better at first. This past year was a disaster. If you as the DH, I can live with that. But I don't know if Pete wants a DH. Not at his age. That's the one thing I'll say about Pete. I don't think he'll want to be a DH. I think he wants to win a Gold Glove. So catching and center field is the biggest holes here. DH is not a big deal. They can plug in all kinds of people. I really like J.D. Davis, but if they pull off a major trade, maybe Lindor, I include him. His defense is lacking, but the Indians already have a Franmil Reyes at DH. See, I don't. I think I mentioned that. I don't see him going in that deal. Like I said earlier, I think I can see him going for probably Arenado. But I don't know who they have that they play. But then they'll want McNeil. I don't want to trade McNeil, like I said. But really, the two biggest holes the Mets have currently is catching and center field. If they trade one of the shortstops, then it creates like a whole big hole here. But this is a pretty good line. You just need two players here. They need a catcher and they need a center fielder. If you bring in Springer, like I said, it makes Nimmo expendable. It makes make Nimmo expendable, and then you still need a catcher. We get to so there's a lot to consider here. But I went through this trade. I didn't like the trade. I think I was crazy. Whatever. Well, anyway, I think I kept you all long here long enough. I'm parched. I gotta take a break. I take a break before I record these videos for tomorrow. But I want to thank you all for coming by. We'll be back here on Saturday. What day? Be back here on Saturday, December 5th, around 6:30 again. Maybe a little bit after that. I want to thank everybody for coming by and subscribe to this channel. And please leave comments. Please leave likes. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I will have more content over the next, a lot of content. And we're going to rev up this stuff while we get into the winter meetings. We'll start on the 6th. That's when I'll start trickling in. So this is going to be a very busy week. I got videos planned for tomorrow. I got some ideas for Monday, and we're gonna keep going. From Steve Perez, great stream. Thanks, man. Well, you're welcome. So again, from Steve, can I trade McNeil? That would like. It's so rare nowadays to find a guy play over the field while providing above average offense. And just think, he was going in that trade for Robinson Cano, and he got talked out of it. Brody Van Wagenen got talked out of it because the fans on WFAN and online started complaining. Thank God they didn't make that trade. That would have been a disaster. So, all right, I gotta get out of here. I'm dying here. Gotta give my voice a rest. I've been going for 2 hours, and this is without a guest. I don't know how I did it, but we'll be back next week around the same bad time, bad station, for another of this week in baseball, centered around the Mets. We'll talk about all the different teams, and we'll have more videos on the Mets tomorrow morning and in the afternoon, and I'll have stuff all week. So there's gonna be a lot to talk about over the next 2 weeks. I can guarantee you that. And we're gonna have more people coming into the stream. We're gonna have more people on the channel. If you write to me on in the comments section, I will write back to you. Either I write back to you or I leave a like or whatever. You'll know. If I miss it, it means I just missed it. But I go through all the comments, and I always read everything. So I want to thank everybody for coming by. When this video is done and it's uploaded onto YouTube, please leave comments if there's anything in the stream that you didn't like or you liked or whatnot. Let me know. I'll write back to you. And of course, please subscribe. If you're watching this for the first time, please subscribe. It's going to be a big channel. I'm working very hard to make this very entertaining. And like I said earlier, I'm trying to get a player on, a former player. I haven't heard from my friend in about a month about it. But hopefully when this channel gets a little bit bigger and we get monetized here and we're over 1,000 subs, I'll try to get him on. This channel has blown up faster over the last day than I would have expected. So I'm trying to, I don't know where I'm going to be in another 2 weeks. So hopefully I can get this player on. I'm going to ask my friend again. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to say who it is right now. He's not a Met, but he was a great player. So thank you for watching this video, and thank you for coming by during the live stream. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Please follow me at Mets Hut on Twitter. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Have a good night.